As I stepped into the dimly lit hospital room, a sense of foreboding washed over me. It was unusual, a feeling that seemed to lurk under the sterile hum of fluorescent lights. I'd been a nurse for years, dealt with countless patients, and seen my share of the unexpected. Yet Mr. Burt was different. He was in his late 39s, quiet, withdrawn, and his dark eyes followed me as I crossed the room. Nervousness clung to him like a second skin. "Everything all right, Mr. Burt?" I asked, softening my tone to ease whatever tension he seemed to carry. He nodded, but there was something in the way he shifted on the bed, fidgeting like he couldn't find comfort no matter how he moved. I tried to ignore the twinge of unease creeping up my spine, chalking it up to a long shift and too many cups of coffee. But when I leaned in to adjust his hospital gown, I caught a glimpse of something that stopped me cold. It wasn't what I'd expected, and a strange heat crept up my face as I tried to maintain my professionalism. "Let's just get you situated," I murmured, forcing myself to focus. But as I moved to help him, he shifted again, and the fabric slipped, falling aside completely. Embarrassed, I quickly looked away, my face flushed, caught between the awkwardness of the moment and an uncomfortable feeling that he seemed to be enjoying it. Just then, the door creaked open. Another nurse poked her head inside, briefly glancing at us before excusing herself. I could have laughed at the timing, if it hadn't left me feeling trapped in a situation I couldn't fully understand. Later, as I went about my rounds, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling Mr. Burt had left behind. And when I received a message that he'd requested me specifically for his next checkup, my stomach flipped. Why me? Had I imagined things, or was there something deeper under the surface? When I returned to his room the next day, I was determined to keep things professional. But the moment our eyes met, there was a look in his gaze, a kind of knowing smirk, almost as if he could sense the battle in my mind. He spoke softly, the confidence in his tone sending an uncomfortable thrill down my spine. "I've been thinking about you," he murmured. The words hung heavy between us, filling the air with a tension I couldn't ignore. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out stilted. I was here to work, not to be part of whatever strange game he seemed to be playing. Just then, the door swung open, and his wife entered. She was composed, her eyes scanning the room with a suspicious sharpness. It was clear she sensed the tension, her gaze flicking between me and her husband. I excused myself, my pulse racing as I slipped out of the room. Over the next few days, I did my best to avoid Mr. Burt, but the situation began to weigh on me. He seemed to be everywhere, and I couldn't stop thinking about the unsettling encounters. The way his eyes seemed to pierce through me, making me question what was real and what was imagined. Just as I thought I was free, I saw his wife by the front desk waiting for me. "We need to talk," she said coldly, leading me down a quiet hallway. She turned, her face a mask of anger, mixed with something else. "Fear?" "I know what you've been doing with my husband," she accused, her voice low and seething. "Stay away from him." Before I could defend myself, she stormed off, leaving me stunned. I wasn't the one initiating anything, yet her words left me questioning myself, as if I'd somehow brought this strange drama upon myself. That night, as I made my way toward the exit, I spotted Mr. Burt lingering by the doorway. He stepped closer, his face unreadable. "We need to talk," he whispered, his voice carrying a hint of urgency. Before I could respond, another nurse called my name, giving me a perfect excuse to leave. But as I walked down the hallway, I couldn't shake the sense that something was about to come crashing down around me. The following days were a blur, marked by unease, tension, and the oppressive weight of secrets I didn't understand. Then, late one evening, just as I was about to clock out, I saw her again, Mr. Burt's wife. She gestured for me to follow her to a small, empty office. Her face was tense, her gaze filled with determination. "You don't understand," she began, her voice a low whisper. "I'm not here to threaten you. I want to help you." I blinked, confused. This was the last thing I expected. "Help me? Why?" I managed, my voice thick with suspicion. She took a deep breath. "Because my husband isn't who you think he is." From her purse, she pulled out a folder thick with documents, photographs, and a series of notes. My heart pounded as I flipped through them, each page revealing details about Mr. Burt that left me cold. A twisted smile spread across her face as she watched my reaction. Join me, she said, voice smooth and calculating. Together we can expose him for who he really is. I was trapped, caught between loyalty to my profession, the strange draw Mr. Burt held over me, and now this revelation from his wife. But one thing was clear. I'd stumbled into a web far more tangled than I could have ever anticipated, and there was no turning back.